Welcome in to another episode of the Q Crew. I'm here with the special team, the quarantine crew. We got my co-host for the Making a Mark Wrestling show that will also be joining me a lot this week to also talk about wrestling. But today, we're going to talk about the only thing as flamboyant as wrestling, and that is the Netflix show that has taken this country by storm at just the right time. We all needed it when we're stuck in our homes. Tiger King on Netflix. If you haven't heard of it, if you're one of the idiots that keep posting these memes that I bet you can't post this and say you haven't watched Tiger King, you're just giving yourself a button that says I'm an idiot. So good work, stupid people on Facebook. I'm bringing in two guys that I know made sure they watched this awesome show immediately. Wade Christensen, Ethan Raby. Guys, before I get into this, just tell me how psyched you've been watching Tiger King, because I know I'm the only one here. I'm the only one that can repost that I haven't watched it twice.
First of all, I'm glad that you didn't open with hey, all you cool cats and kittens out there. So
I was going
we're already nailing it.
I was going to, but everybody has already done it. Once the Lawrence Police knocks it out, I can't do it. Like, I'm out, you know? I got to beat them to the punch or it's not funny anymore.
Yeah, you can't be behind LPD on Twitter.
It's true. They're quick, though. They're quick.
Yep.
I just love a good freak show, so I wheel them out, let me stare at them, poke at them, Yeah.
Let me tell you something. This was not educational.
Oh, no.
I learned a lot about the big cat industry. I learned that there was a guy on Entertainment Tonight who actually I didn't learn it from the show. I learned it later. But that guy who was the documentarian, turns out one of the big problems he had during his career was he was on meth. So it made sense that he came in to be the guy who helped make this reality show on Tiger King.
God damn it. Why didn't they ever mention that? That's just one more great piece to the puzzle.
I don't know, man, but it's crazy.
It's definitely less National Geographic Channel, a little more the Learning Channel. As I said,
a little more the Playboy Channel.
Just a little bit. It's like part Playboy Channel, part TLC, part Crackle. I don't know. It was
whatever.
I don't know what's on Crackle.
A little bit of Crackle thrown in.
So, I was trying to think what's the best way to attack this, but there's nothing that's going to be as good of an attack as the tiger that took the arm off the person in the zoo. So my attack here is just kind of open it up to you guys and figure out what drew you in to watch this. Because, Wade, you just said you love the freak shows, and that obviously pulled you in. But I think I saw Netflix push this pretty hard. Like, whatever I was watching, the show would end and have a trailer for Tiger King pop up. And I wasn't going to watch it, but the thing that got me was the music video. And I was like, did he hire like a country music star to do like this thing on the zoo? I'm like, but here's the thing. Then I started watching the show, and he's like, they're not telling me that it's from somebody else. So I'm like, wait, he's actually singing the fucking songs? Like, so I was in 100%. And then like 2 episodes in, I Googled it because of our conversation in our Facebook group, and just made me depressed and sad. But also, you can't go 2 episodes in and quit. So I stuck with it. Guys, we'll start with Wade. What was the thing that made you actually watch it? You said the freak shows are great. Did you just see a trailer and you're like, I'm fucking in? Or what was the thing that said, I need to start watching this?
Oh, that's exactly what happened. I watch a lot of documentaries, like especially like on like weirdos. Like, I love it. That's why I love like This American Life. Like, it's just people pieces on like weirdos, like what's going on, and just like people that like you wouldn't even think exist. And like Joe Exotic is someone I wouldn't have thought existed until I saw this. And like I kept like like it was right when like everyone there was like a little bit of talk. Netflix was showing it. And I watch documentaries anyway, so I watched the trailer, and I watched the trailer once, and I go, okay, we're going to start episode 1 tonight, because this is a ride I need to take.
Ethan,
Right
what
on.
told you?
Kind of just the fact that no one would shut the fuck up about it. It was something where like I just wanted to like be able to understand Facebook for the next 6 months, and everyone was raving about it, and then the only brush I had with Joe Exotic before was the bit that when he was on John Oliver. So I remembered him from that, but didn't really know there was that much of like a world behind it. Like you pull that thread from that John Oliver segment, and it just unravels a ridiculous world that I think I needed to know existed. I'm glad that I know that world exists. I'm sad that that world does exist, but I'm at least aware of it and all these interesting characters within it.
So one of the first things that I was starting to think this is just a little bit too much is when you get to the later portion of the show and Jeff Lowe pitches the idea that he's like, all right, I'm going to take the baby tigers and I'm going to put them on a party bus out in Vegas. And he says that idea. And one, the first thing in my head was like, this is probably the smartest idea I've heard from any of these people, even though it's fucking crazy. And the two is they didn't spend any time on it. They literally just say that like, it didn't work. And we move on. And I just want to know what was the thing that stood out the most of the series that you would just like, I would watch an entire documentary series on this one aspect, but instead they kind of just passed over because there was so much batshit crazy things that they didn't have time for it.
Doc Antle. Like Doc Antle needs his own like 6-episode series. And that's definitely the part where Wade said this is part Playboy Channel. That guy's fucking wild and a piece of shit. And I think that the stars that came out of this, he was maybe one of the less controversial considering everyone involved, which is amazing. But I don't know, I could use a little bit more of the behind the scenes Doc Antle really too, where he's like directing the camera crew and he's like, all right, I'm gonna do this and I'm going to it, and they just include his direction in the final cut. It was maybe my favorite part of the whole series.
I did love with Doc Antle being basically like what seemed like the closest to normal at the beginning. It's like everybody who owns a big cat is apparently a psycho. There's something wrong with them mentally. They are doing something that at the most, or at the least, they're a weirdo. That's the best case scenario. And for him, it's just he looked a little weird. He had a very dumb look. But you were like, well, he's like the high class version of Joe Exotic. And then by the end of episode 3, they always their cliffhangers were so good because they'd hit you with that one last bit that you're like, I got to hit play on the next one. And then to find out, he's basically has just a harem of 17-year-old virgins that he's converted into this tiger kingdom. And you're just like, okay, now the one who was the most normal is crazy. And now we get back to the fact that I don't have a reason to want to change the law on owning big cats for any sort of moral reason. And I get the idea that cats shouldn't be in cages and whatever. Like it seems like when they're born in captivity and you got a big enough cage, I'm not sure how I feel about that law. I think it should be outlawed because it seems like everybody who gets into the business is just so crazy that you should know that this shouldn't be allowed. It's not a moral imperative for the Tigers. I just know that bad shit's going to happen around people who feel the need to have giant tigers in their backyard.
Yeah, it's definitely a setup for disaster, like a beautiful disaster. Heyo, Cody Rhodes. It's just, God, what a fucking mess these people are. Just the whole bunch of them. They're all spread all over the country, and like I think it's the guy, I can't remember his name now. The guy who Joe calls a human Chucky doll. The guy with the Dutch boy haircut.
Yeah, my boy.
He's the one who says it best. It's in the opening sequence, in the very opening sequence of episode 1, where he's like, yeah, the monkey people are kind of strange. The bear people are crazy, but the big cat people are the most backstabbing, biggest pieces of shit in the entire world. Just calls it out right from the start. By the end of it, you're like, God damn, that just rings true throughout the entire series. Every single time, you can't pick a side. Like, you can't pick a side with any of these tiger people. Like, I think my favorite person who I like actually is like, that's my dude is the guy with the long hair and the sunglasses who's like hanging out in the gas shack. Like,
that's the coolest guy ever.
That's my guy. Yeah.
Yeah. That guy's like, I don't give a fuck how many wives he has. Like that dude's the shit. So like I have here's a weird fact about me, and a little insight into big cat people. I dated a girl and am pretty good friends with a girl whose family raises lions, tigers, and big cats. And like I've been face to face with like full grown like lions and stuff. I've sat in her house at night and listened to them roar. It is a bone chilling thing to experience. And like that being said, her family is pretty pleasant people. Like. Like
well, yeah, they're not having to deal with that bitch Carol Baskin. Like they're not so stressed out. They're not getting
Carol
indicted right now.
Fucking Baskin. Yeah, like they're pretty nice. They were on TV once on the Daily Show, but for like buffalo that they also raised.
So Wade.
Why didn't you bring her on the show, Wade?
Well, here's a weird little thing. I got on Facebook recently to see like, oh, I wonder what she's saying about all this Joe Exotic stuff, and she has either deleted Facebook or just blocked me. Because I've been sharing a lot of Tiger King memes. So
that might be it. That might be the reason.
Good.
So would you say that the crazy cat people, based on your experience, it's unfair for us to believe that everybody showcased in Tiger King is a clear example of the craziness that it takes to be about having big cats? They found the craziest people for this show.
It's not far off.
Okay.
Keep in mind, the people in the show too are the ones that are like running it as like an enterprise, and I think there's like a whole other level to it there versus people who just are like caring for big cats,
well,
unless that's what they do, unless they have like a business made out of it.
You know, they found like cream of the cream weirdos for this.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to see the people who didn't make the cut. Like they'd interview him, like, not fucking weird enough.
Yeah.
Get it out of here.
Like apparently the cocaine dealer murderer guy wasn't interesting enough to have more than 20 minutes on the show.
Yeah. You have fucking Scarface and he's like an afterthought and like seems like a pretty cool guy. Like compared to all these other psychos.
How many wives does he have?
Not enough. Not enough to get more screen time. And the weird thing about him, he's not only the most level-headed person in this show, he's also more cool than the actual Scarface movie. Like, I don't know how you guys feel about Scarface, but I think it's one of those ones that a bunch of frat bros have kind of pushed into the stratosphere.
Overrated.
It's just it's not that good of a movie. But when you hear what he actually did, and you add in the big cat part and all the animals and everything, it's like, I would have watched that movie. Like, make that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they should. They got rid of all the best parts about him and just wanted him to be a cocaine freak. And it was like, keep the animals. Like, you could keep the same cocaine pile, but like, make sure the animals are there. And I feel like they did a disservice to that man in how they portrayed him in Scarface. I was really sad for him. I like starting the show. Like, it feels some people like decided to hate Carol Baskins when they figured out there's a good chance she murdered her husband. And while that was a great twist, I just wanted to see how you guys felt, because I know from the very get-go, I just didn't like this woman. And it just felt like early on this was going to end in a way that it's like, okay, Joe Exotic did terrible things and you can't really like him, but I'm also not going to side with Carol Baskins, even if she's supposed to be the side of good, because she's just so fucking obnoxious. I didn't even know that they would start to show what she really is, and this story that is like, there's no way anything else happened except she fed her husband to the tigers. Like, before that moment, I didn't trust her, and then you just didn't know why until they tell you that story of how she got rich. And it was weird, though, because it also makes me think she's less of a hypocrite with the tigers, because it's like, before, she has these tigers in tiny cages, and she's trying to take them away from guys like Joe Exotic, who actually have them in big cages. And she's like, well, we want to get them out of captivity. They're breeding them. And what are they going to do in my sanctuary? They're going to live here till they die. And it was like, that's pretty fucked up. Finding out though that she's got this big house, but that wasn't paid for through her hypocrisy. She actually had a husband she killed off to get the money. Then I'm like, oh, she killed the husband. That's good. Now I can believe she is good to tigers. She's just bad to people, and that's I think that's better, right?
Well, Mac, if I've learned anything throughout my adventures in this life, it's how to fucking spot crazy, and it's behind the eyes.
That's true.
And Carol Baskin is fucking crazy.
Yeah,
I've seen it. I've dated it for years.
The constant nervous laughter is just like a sign of an unhinged and untrustworthy human being.
I don't mean to derail us, but Wade, if you can see it, it's so clear behind the eyes. Why do you keep dating it?
Well,
It's fun.
it transitions into other places as well. You know what they say? Freak in the streets, she'll do anything.
This might be
Is
a
that
good
what they
time to
say?
show the world your barbed
right.
wire baseball bat. So yeah, I was only kind of kidding. Like, I did feel like when Carol Baskins kind of took her heel turn, for me that was more of a face turn. I don't know if it's because I like a cool heel, but I respected her more when I feel like she got away with murder and did it so seamlessly. Which, it's amazing. We messaged this. There are way too many OJ moments in this goddamn show. Like, each one of them had an "if I did it" moment, and Carol Baskins with the well, you wouldn't put perfume on the person's foot if you wanted to get ate by a tiger. And she stopped. She actually stopped to contemplate what was happening, recognize that this is going to look really bad when they show the rest of the documentary parts about her missing husband. And she's like, well, you'd put sardine oil on him. And it's just like, she did it. She just, they all admitted what they did on camera, and they all got away with it. They said Joe Exotic. I don't think you should free Joe Exotic, but put the rest of them away with him. That's all I'm saying.
It's like the documentary crew was like, they knew that they were going to release the Carol Baskins as a murderer, drama. But before doing so, they were like, so if you were to try to get someone to be eaten by a tiger, what would you do for that, Carol Baskin? And
they
then
probably worked backwards. Yeah, they probably worked backwards.
Exactly.
They asked her that first, and then they started like, so what happened to your husband? And we just saw it in the reverse. Like, that's good. It's a little dishonest, but they're not real journalists. They're just documentarians for Netflix. So that's just good craftsmanship. I give them credit for that.
Sorry, my headset just like went ape shit. So I was over here like panicking.
I was gonna say you should just take the headset off, because I don't think the audio is that much better, and it keeps doing this weird sound where I think the Bluetooth isn't working very well. So if you want to deactivate while me and Ethan vamp for a little bit, that might be the best course of action. So, man, it's so hard to figure out where to go with this show, because it is just crazy. And normally I try to find like a smart angle for this. I come in with a game plan. I've researched it. And it's just like, I wasn't going to waste my time spending any more looking things up other than trying to figure out about Joe Exotic's country music career. And as I mentioned earlier, it broke my heart. But those songs were bangers. Like, that's the craziest part. Even for the fact that he didn't do it himself, that he got a country band to be good enough and to write good enough songs about his crazy life. And I do believe Hello Kitty should be nominated for a Grammy.
Here Kitty.
Here Kitty is so good. And the fact that it matched up what was going on so well, honestly, I'm 100% in for that song getting the credit it deserves.
It's love that
overdue.
The costume that he wears in Here Kitty is also what he wore to his husband's funeral.
Man,
with the preacher's collar and all.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for to find out that the husband didn't kill himself. That happened behind the camera, and this is all a ruse. I just feel like
it's weird. It's a weird angle. It's a fucking weird angle for that to be shot, and no pun intended. But also his live lip sync performance at Travis's funeral. Solid. If you could pull off lip syncing in front of a crowd that's that small directly in front of you, I mean, Ashley Simpson's got nothing on Joe Exotic as far as I'm concerned.
And that's the thing, is he did it just
Hot
enough
take:
that
Joe Exotic is a better live performer than Ashley Simpson.
I mean, he nailed it. I just, it was so amazing to see how much was a performance. You know, like you're sitting there watching him come out to that funeral, and I knew he was crazy. I knew that he loved the spotlight more than almost anything else. I just couldn't even imagine after that happened, that event, that he's out there and putting on the Joe Exotic performance. That's the only time I actually everything else when people are talking about Joe Exotic being a bad person. It's like, yeah, but there are a lot of bad people. All in all, it's more ridiculous than it is evil.
Yeah.
But that's the moment where I
fair.
lost. I just couldn't defend Joe Exotic. And I think people ended the show creating campaigns like Free Joe Exotic. After that funeral, I'm just like, no.
I mean,
I don't care if he's in prison. I can't.
Man.
I don't know.
Shit.
I hope my funeral is that lit. There's a live country music performance. Lots talking about balls, and there's live tigers on scene. That's a fucking funeral if I've ever seen one, boys.
Man,
I just like that he only uses his computer to write letters to a governor or senator. And he just puts those balls right in my face.
Golden nuggets
to that boy.
God. Well,
And
praise be to whatever.
His mom had to listen to it.
Front row, sitting there, just God. Yeah.
This whole town.
Oh man. This whole town does fucking slap though.
The songs are so good. It's crazy. And I think the only one, I'm not sure if they played it, if maybe I missed it, but he has a song that was I'm a pretty lady lover. And I was just like, is this I think it came out after the breakup with the first husband. So I don't know if he's trying to say I'm better at loving women than my ex-husband who was actually straight and left me.
That's possible. I
it's
think
a flex move. It sounds like something Joe Exotic would do.
Most of his songs are diss tracks. They're just veiled in Western guitar.
Oh God. It's I wonder how much I would have enjoyed it without the music. If there wasn't that aspect of this fucking craziness, if I would have just kind of watched and be like, I don't know, they're crazy, but whatever.
Yeah.
But each time I almost you'd pick up your phone and look. You do that with any show. Definitely do it with documentaries. You're just still paying attention, but you're flipping through Facebook or whatever. I would put the phone down when a music video came on. It was just it brought me back in every time. I couldn't quit this show. And I think the music video it's what made me click on it in the first place. And it's that kept me going through all those episodes.
This is a mind control tool that could be utilized by the CIA to get you to assassinate a government official. Just zap you into Joe Exotic videos and just pepper in subliminal messaging within that. Don't get any ideas, but CIA, I got my eye on you, CIA.
Dude, this show was something that it had just enough, I think real value. This industry is something that not only seems weird on the surface, but now that you watch this with all these crazy people, it's there were things going on that weren't just about laws involving big cats. It was the things that are happening in the big cat industry, the basically having indentured servants to keep the industry going. They required expired meat from Walmart, and that's the only thing that could feed these people that were paid such low wages. You start going down, and you could argue that was just kind of how Joe Exotic handled it, but it seemed like everybody who's in this business that they showed had to cut corners and do this in such a way that was just so messed up. I don't think there's any argument that like I said earlier, it's shutting it down for the benefit of the cats, maybe. But just because this industry is rife with crime, it's it's not just about Joe Exotic trying to get Carol Baskins murdered. They were doing so much other shit on a daily basis. They lived on these plots of land that was just them able to be outside of the law, breaking the law constantly. I was just so amazed that all those things were happening. And I wonder if anything has changed other than Joe Exotic's zoo got bulldozed by Jeff Lowe as he goes to make another zoo somewhere else closer to the border and near a casino. Like, do you think anything has actually changed in the years Joe Exotic's been in jail, or do you think anything will change now that this show has actually brought a light to all this crazy bullshit?
I'd say there's about a 40% chance that Donald Trump pardons Joe Exotic and has him speak at one of his coronavirus press conferences. He already got the MyPillow guy. What's next?
At least Joe Exotic's new husband can finally get that old man's hands off of him for a little bit.
I would and see a lot of character development. Joe Exotic, two young non-gay husbands, and finally he found one that was gay. I mean, that's good, right? Like, that's the power of stardom and fame, is you can finally find somebody you're attracted to that actually is attracted to you. I feel good for Joe, and it's sad that only lasted so long. And who would have guessed he'd get arrested in was it a Walmart parking lot? Like, God.
I don't remember. Where was he arrested?
I feel like that's what it was when he got tackled in Florida. Joe Exotic was at a Walmart. Yeah. And then the informants were meeting at an Applebee's, and it was just like, this was like white trash bingo. Like, you couldn't have wrote this better. It was amazing how many things they nailed. They're blowing things up with Tamarite.
Yeah.
Like, even the campaign manager is like, I was a manager at Walmart and I worked in the ammunition section. Of course he did. Fucking the smartest guy in the show worked at Walmart.
Well, and that just goes to show how shitty Walmart is that guy left a manager position at Walmart to go be a campaign manager at a tiger farm.
You know, when you say it out loud, it sounds kind of silly.
He's like, oh, you guys got a bunch of methed out idiots with guns and tigers biting people's arms off? Sounds better than this bullshit.
Yep. I don't even have anything to say. That's just
you hit the nail right on the head there, Wade.
Just really sad and true. And I still like. I guess this is a weird thing because I had this conversation with Kinsey with watching the scene where the campaign manager is sitting there and the husband ends up shooting himself, and we were a little like we were on different sides. Do you think it was just an accident, or do you think he like publicly got to the end of his rope and just did it that way and shot himself in front of the guy?
I don't think it was on purpose.
I don't think so either. I think he was just that fucked up to where he was like, how many times do you think that guy probably pointed an empty gun at his head and pulled the trigger to fuck with people? Like, he probably did that shit all the time, is my guess.
Yeah.
Based on kind of what they talk about. And I could see him doing it, and you do that enough times, there's going to be a fucking bullet in the chamber.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it was just so weird because the way they built it up was like he's sad and depressed and ready to leave. And then the conversation to be like, I'm not an idiot. Like, I know that, it doesn't have the clip in. And for it to be something that he then decided, because you would think in that moment he would pull the trigger on the campaign manager, not on himself. And so because that, like, the way they let it up, like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait, what happened? And like, they don't explain it well enough for it to have happened under the camera. So you're left sitting there with just this very short answer from the campaign manager. And now I am sitting there, I'm like, wait, because like he was depressed, it would make sense that he would want to kill himself being stuck in that life. So it was like, I couldn't tell which one was it. Did he do it by accident? So many unanswered questions in this show.
I think he was the type of guy to just put himself in situations where he might die because he was like ready to, like, kind of like think like Jeff Hardy 10 years ago, just like one of those guys. Like, I think that it was pretty much where he was at.
I'm surprised that Jeff Hardy didn't make his way to one of these zoos at some point.
How the fuck is Jeff Hardy not in this goddamn documentary series?
I'm surprised he didn't have his own zoo. It's like he kept trying, and Matt just kept putting wrestling rings out there. And you're like, God damn it, Matt! I had plans for this place.
Oh, but this one's George Washington.
Fuck you, Wade.
All right, this is about Tiger King. The only way we can talk about professional wrestling is if we talk about the fact that Joe Exotic hosted professional wrestling at his zoo, and they didn't put it into the documentary. It didn't show.
Yeah, it's a shame.
He was a play-by-play guy for his wrestling shows
Yeah.
that he put out there. They had the Viking Raiders out there.
You're talking about like redneck bingo too. Like wrestling meets every category that it needed to be in this documentary series. I've heard rumblings Vice might be doing some kind of like follow up on the wrestling side of Joe Exotic's zoo.
I hope so.
Potentially. I might be totally wrong, but
I think it's pretty obvious that Joe Exotic is the perfect wrestling manager. So I got to ask, I'll start with Wade. Who should Joe Exotic manage in professional wrestling?
Right now? Or
it could be now, it could be ever. We could play this game however you want to.
I mean, he'd be good with like an Adrian Adonis, a Velveteen Dream, Gold Dust.
See, I'm thinking like Dijakovic, like Dominic Dijakovic. I think would be a perfect guy for Joe Exotic to manage. Just let him talk about him like he's a tiger. Like just the whole promo is him just talking about Dijak's muscles. That's it. Like
Chuck and Billy.
These are all solid. I like the Dijakovic.
I would pay to watch Rico versus Joe Exotic.
So I mean, Dijakovic's a solid one because I think having somebody who doesn't already have
Sullivan.
Oh my God, nailed it!
Nailed it!
Perfect.
Nailed it!
You just saved 2 careers.
There it is. We found it, boys.
All right, so back to Tiger King. Man, are there even things we need to hit? Like other than like. Is the husband of Carol Baskins like just look perfect for the role? Like the guy who would come in, it's like I bet they've not even had sex during their marriage. He's literally like her lawyer / accountant and does all this for her, but they've never slept in the same bed.
He's a fucking dope. He looks like if Herman Munster had AIDS.
If you look up "cuck" in the dictionary, there's a picture of that guy.
Oh man!
Jesus Christ! That fucking the part of them like smiling watching their own music video, and it's like their music videos are dog shit. Like, especially
awful.
compared to Joe's.
Yeah.
Like,
how did they just scroll past a picture of him dressed as a cat with a leash on
and not address it?
Never addressed. No one ever addresses it.
Once again, there was so much stuff to hit. They didn't even have time for that. Like it's like an Easter egg for us to find. Like that's it. Like there wasn't enough time. So many things happened.
Hey, here's this weird fucking picture real quick, and it's gone.
Is it possible they do a second season of the show? I feel like it's so. Like,
it's probably going to happen.
There's a lot out there in the fucking Tiger world. Like, I feel like you could make another 7 hours of this easily.
I mean, you can just do the Joe Exotic trying to get out. Like the appeals process becomes its own show. And imagine one of those, like, it's like Making a Murderer, but with somebody with pizzazz. Like, it's so
like
good.
Making a Murderer meets Ernest Goes to Prison. Like, it's exactly what the world needs.
There are multiple Joe Exotic documentaries on YouTube right now.
I know you shared one with us. I didn't have time to jump in yet, but holy God.
That's an hour and a half of just Joe Exotic and his little weird camp. But they make it seem a lot cleaner than it is, but you still get to see like some weird shit happening because it's still them.
And you know what? And that's a good transition to one of the things I want to talk about. So they make this documentary, right? They have the ability to not make them look awful. But you know why that documentary was unsuccessful? It's the same reason this documentary on Netflix is so damn good. Because these people are completely unaware how awful they are. Even like Carol Baskins probably thought she was winning this thing early on. You know, like she was like, I'm going to come out of this documentary, look awesome. Yeah. I can keep saying all this dumb shit to people. I can say, hello, all you kittens and kittens. And I'm going to push this thing up to the next level. She had no idea she was going to become public enemy number 1. That's because they're not even aware of when they're doing these awful things. When they hear it in their heads, they're like, it's fine. So even when you get to the end, and that's probably why like the Jeff Lowe tiger petting on the party bus in Vegas was so short. Finally, Jeff Lowe figured out, he's like, I probably shouldn't put this on here to get me into more legal trouble. So he kept it short. But the rest of the time, there is no self-awareness from anybody. So they just kept showing all the dumb shit they were doing. These were the last people in the world that needed to have their lives documented. And they were trying to do it themselves. They were bringing in extra teams that wanted to do it. They were opened up to the media. Like, these idiots put all of it on tape. And, like, that's why you get all those OJ moments. And maybe Jeff Lowe's is the best. He's trying to actually be smart, as smart as he can be. And then he gets to the last moment where it's like Joe Exotic's like, I was set up. This was purely for Jeff Lowe to try to take my zoo away. And Jeff Lowe's like, it wasn't to take his zoo away. Is it what a setup if I keep asking him these questions and get him to say this so I can get him out of the business? Well, yeah, I mean, if it is, it's like he just admitted that the whole Joe Exotic's argument was right. And everybody did this show. Everybody that was doing something illegal, except maybe Doc Antle, who finally just said, nope, not like he had one last interview that was short and then he was out. He's like, nope. As soon as they accuse him of having a harem, he's like, you guys are awful and you're accusing me of bullshit. Didn't happen. Whatever. I have this awesome zoo. Deuces. He was the only one smart enough to get out, which is crazy because that soul patch doesn't say he has that self-awareness, but he finally got it towards the end of the show.
Chucky doll guy too. It's like even in like the scenes where it seems the most normal and they're just talking about like a setup and like him talking to the feds and like he's in like a car dealership, you're like, seems normal, and then it just like cuts over. There's like a fucking lemur in a cage. Like, God damn it! Can you people go one fucking scene without just doing something fucking crazy? Oh, and then is Joe's husband's face, and they're like, "What do you think about so-and-so being a federal agent?" It's like, what? God.
Hold up, y'all want to get some B-roll with me on my jet ski real quick?
It's the most fucking Kenny Powers thing in that entire documentary. just roll around on
the funeral.
Yeah, the funeral's pretty Kenny Powers. There's a lot of eastbound and down here. Like, did they even go to South Carolina in this?
That's where Doc Antle is.
Is it?
Oh, he is. Okay. All right.
See, I got confused at where shit was happening because there's like somebody in Ohio. I think that might just be the guy who was telling how crazy these people are. But there was like somebody in Ohio, some Carol Baskins in Florida. You got Joe Exotic in Oklahoma. I didn't know, like, they just showed the map, and I'm like, oh, there's crazy people all over the U.S. Like,
yeah, it made me feel really unsafe when they show the map and are cutting around. Like, oh god, I'm fucking surrounded by tigers.
There's like, a lot of problems in the Midwest.
There was one guy who got busted like 4 or 5 years ago, like who had a bunch of tigers and big cats up in like Atchison, just like an hour away from here. Like, shit. They're fucking everywhere. And yeah, the guy, I think it's the guy in Ohio, Tim something, like, seems like a pretty minor character. And then he's got a fucking run in the final act. And it's the final nail in Joe Exotic's coffin and helps take over the zoo. Fucking everyone has a purpose in this documentary.
Even Shaquille O'Neal, who got a little bit early to show just kind of how spread this was, he had to put out a statement after this and basically said, I didn't know what was going on. And I don't have tigers, and like he just had to defend it immediately as this started to ramp up. So first thing I got to ask, how many tigers do you think Shaquille O'Neal owns?
In the teens.
Yeah. No
I
doubt.
was gonna say like a dozen is probably what I'm thinking. Yeah.
I just love his entire statement of all the bullshit I've heard for this documentary. The only thing I 100% know for sure, or I guess two things. Carol Baskins killed her husband, and Shaquille O'Neal lied about not having tigers. Like, that's it. Those are the two things I know for sure. Everything else up in the air.
It's like, it's one of those sound bites. If you just like took it and like played it to yourself a year ago, it's like, what's a snippet from one of our future episodes? It's the only thing I know is Shaquille O'Neal owns tigers. What the fuck we're talking about in 2020, but I guess it's interesting.
Yeah, it's true. We're probably going to wrap this up. I feel bad that we're not doing the full deep dive, but like I said, I couldn't even bear to put the time in. Plus, WrestleMania Night 2 is breathing down upon us. So
yeah, I'm watching the pre-show right now.
So I just want to hit with a couple more things of, Wade, anything else that we missed that you feel the need, we definitely have to talk about during Tiger King. What do we got left, Wade?
the poor son of a bitch that like lost all of his footage. It just like
Oh, man.
went crazy. Right now on YouTube, there's like a ton of footage of like the Joe Exotic TV episodes. There's like a day in the life of Joe Exotic, and so far I've watched episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They're all about a half hour. David Spade has been interviewing a lot of the people from Tiger King on his show the last week. So, there's a lot of stuff out there for you to get your Tiger King fix. Cause like, I am just like fixated on these weirdos now. Like now I need to know like, oh, like homeboy got his teeth fixed. Oh, looking
What?
good, weirdo.
That's crazy. Yeah, like I don't have that same draw to this. Like I love to run through Tiger King the first time, and I think I'm good for now. If they make a movie, if they make a movie, get Danny McBride to play Joe Exotic. I keep hearing the like David Spade, but it's like Joe Dirt to Joe Exotic. No, Danny McBride is perfect. He's the only one who has that level of charisma, insanity, and we've already, like you guys said, it's so much like Eastbound and Down. He's already proved himself. But I think if you get him in there and you get the right director and you want to take a slightly more serious tone, obviously a lot of crazy stuff's going to happen that's going to make us laugh. But if you keep Danny McBride in the pocket, I think he wins an Oscar. I think this is the role he was made to play, and I think they need to do it right. I'm excited for that movie.
Oh God!
Don't shake your head at me, Wade.
Fucking
Oscar.
right. You're fucking right. Yeah.
It's happening. Ethan, what are the last things of Tiger King that our viewers need to know about?
I think viewers need to know. Fucking watch it twice, man. It's just such a treasure. Came out at the perfect time when everyone's needing a new Netflix show. I think keep the fandom up is how you get a season 2. You just keep posting those Tiger King memes, keep talking about Tiger King. Halloween, everyone. Oh my God, Halloween is going to be fun as hell this year. It's just, I don't know. God bless everyone who sat through it.
All right, and I think that about does it for us here. I'm trying to go through the brain bank and figure out anything left, but honestly, my brain rotted away watching this show, and I'm not saying that pejoratively. It felt good. I did it on purpose, and it's a good time. This is the exact, like you said, Ethan, exact thing we needed during quarantine. I feel like Wade has something great to say right now, though. So.
Just real quick, I think like, and this goes for everyone. Start treating your balls more like golden nuggets. Am I right?
True. Facts.
All right, I think that's the show, guys. I think that's a perfect note to go out on.
That's
if I can get serious for a moment. Treat your balls like golden nuggets.
That's about it. I don't know what the next crazy show will be that might bring the three of us together to talk about that. Obviously, for anybody who's a fan of wrestling, we already got enough wrestling talk into this show, and Wade already has his barbed wire bat. But obviously, Tell Me More podcast will be back later this week, Making Mark Wrestling show, talking about WrestleMania recap. And then I'm going to keep looking. I'm going to find something great for us. I don't know if anything will ever live up to the greatness that is Tiger King, but we will find a show for the gang to get back together and talk about. But that's all we have for this episode of the Q Crew. Later, folks, we got to go watch the Firefly Funhouse.